way this old familiar sinking. I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. By and by I'll lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. It's been said, and I do believe, as you ask, so shall you receive. So take from me these troubles, bring me sweet release, where the river will never run dry. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. By and by I'll lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. There is a river in this heart of hearts, within knowingness of my highest good. I am willing, I will do my part, where the river will never run dry. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. By and by I'll lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. Where the river will never run dry. This river will never run dry.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Lainey, and it is my honor to be here with you today to celebrate the life of Angela Marseglia. And I wish I didn't have to be here, and no one really wants to be here. And yet there is nowhere else to possibly be than here right now, coming together to share the burden of grief and to offer whatever small comfort we can to one another, simply by being together at this tender time. I'd like to start by sharing a poem by John O'Donoghue that meant a lot to Angela. When you lose someone you love, your life becomes strange. The ground beneath you gets fragile, your thoughts make your eyes unsure, and some dead echo drags your voice down where words have no confidence. Your heart has grown heavy with loss, and though this loss has wounded others too, no one knows what has been taken from you. When the silence of absence deepens, flickers of guilt kindle regret for all that was left unsaid or undone. There are days when you wake up happy again inside the fullness of life until the moment breaks and you are thrown back onto the black tide of loss. Days when you have your heart back, you are able to function well until in the middle of work or encounter, suddenly, with no warning, you are ambushed by grief. It becomes hard to trust yourself, and all you can depend on now is that sorrow will remain faithful to itself. More than you, it knows its way, and will find the right time to pull and pull the rope of grief until that coiled hill of tears has reduced to its last drop. Gradually, you will learn acquaintance with the invisible form of your departed, and when the work of grief is done, the wound of loss will heal, and you will have learned to wean your eyes from that gap in the air, to be able to enter the hearth in your soul where your loved one has awaited your return all the time. In my work, I have the great pleasure and privilege to hear stories about so many beautiful and miraculous lives and loves of people I would never have otherwise had the opportunity to know. In learning about Angela from those closest to her, I thought, oh, this is someone I wish I'd had a chance to know. The stories I heard were about a life well lived and full of love. And I wish I shared even a fraction of her energy and positivity and enthusiasm to taste every part of life, to try anything, to meet new people and go deep, knowing the importance of connection. It is so clear how well Angela knew how to care for people. She loved and was loved. Angela's early years as the cherished child of Celestina and Antonio, and the apple of everyone's eye in her big Italian loving family, gave her the confidence and energy to pack every day to the brim, supported by her parents while also striving and succeeding in whatever she put her mind to. With a lifelong love of learning and education, Angela won awards and was a championed teacher and a successful educator and owner of Oxford Learning Centers, teaching countless young people to love learning and supporting them to be their best, most authentic selves. Angela had a passion to learn about the world, traveling and learning wherever she went. And at home, forever jumping into new activities, learning new skills, always evolving, always growing, always striving. I was also thrilled to learn that Angela and I shared a lifelong passion for dance. I know what it is to move in the rhythm of whatever the universe has sent into our lives. We dance with joy and sorrow. We dance with confusion and with grief. We dance with anger and with peace. In moments as a solo, in moments as a chorus, we choreograph a lifetime. When someone close to us dies, the world seems wrong, as if it has shifted on its axis overnight. And for so many other people whose lives Angela touched, friends and family, so many of you here, and so many more who are not able to be here, a deep hole remains where such a dear friend once lived. But by being here together and sharing words and hugs and remembrances, we learn to fill that hole just a little bit and to add to the dance of this life. There are a number of people who would like to share what Angela meant to them, and I'd like to start by inviting up Angela's mother, Angela.
Angela was 14 in grade 9 at Madonna High School in 1993-94. 14 years after I learned I was pregnant with her while I was attending the same high school. One of many synchronicities in our story. I knew I was too young to raise a child myself, and while finding myself pregnant at that age was fraught with emotion, as you can imagine, still in many ways I loved being pregnant, and I spent hours imagining the child who was growing inside of me. She was a healthy, full-term baby with beautiful eyes and heart-shaped lips. I got to hold her for a couple of hours in the hospital. And for the next 25 years, I had to be content with remembering the warmth and the weight of her body in my arms. And I prayed that she was adopted into a loving home. Over those years, I thought of her often. When she became a teenager, I started leaving messages or placing ads in the newspaper on her birthday, just in case she was looking for me. And later, when it became possible, I registered with the Adoption Disclosure Registry so that if she was looking for me, she could find me. Angela told me when we met that her parents confirmed she was adopted when she was in university and had taken a course with a genetics component. Probably lots of you have already taken that course too. And she learned that two blue-eyed parents could not give birth to a brown-eyed child. I took that same course when I was in university, and I learned when we met that Angela and I both attended York University, both with the goal of becoming a high school teacher. Angela, as you know, went on to become a teacher and made educating her career. The day we met, she confirmed my deepest wish for her. That she had indeed been adopted into a loving family. She grew up with parents who adored her and surrounded by aunts, uncles, and cousins, feeling loved and happy. It was her parents who chose to call her Angela. They didn't know anything about me. After we met when she was 25 and had exchanged letters and photographs, including the one that you'll see on display from when she was a few days old, she was welcomed into her birth family. Angela and Jessica had both grown up wishing that they had a sister, and within a short time became close, even traveling together to East Asia, where Angela was working on her master's thesis on women street sweepers in Vietnam. She came easily into our family, meeting my mother, all of my siblings, lots of new cousins, and later a niece and nephew who adored her. A year or so after we met, Angela moved out of her parents' home to an apartment on the third floor of my house, where I had the great pleasure of seeing her almost every day for a time. She lived with us through the entire process of my adopting her little sister. I'll never forget the first time Angela saw Brianna, when with tears in her eyes she said she could now imagine the joy her parents must have felt when they first brought her home. I also remember clearly the joy she felt when becoming a mother herself, and how Gabe became the center of a rich life filled with boundless love. Angela talked a lot about her family, particularly about her parents. She was heartbroken at her mother's death when she was 24. And while supporting her mother through cancer, Angela looked into various treatment options and became interested in naturopathy, even going so far as to consider studying naturopathic medicine, which had been my career. Naturopathic medicine became an important part of her own treatment when she was diagnosed with cancer. I love looking at photographs from the many birthday celebrations we shared. Angela's open, smiling face, receiving the wishes that were showered on her. Those photographs also reflect a generosity of spirit towards others. She lived a life filled with joy, positivity, and passion, as evidenced by the wonderful group of friends who surrounded her and supported her, particularly over the past few months. I'm blessed to have been present to welcome Angela into a world that is better for her having been in it, and to have been at her side to see her leave it too soon when she took her last breath. I have one other thing that I wanted to read to you. I just received this morning from the acupuncturist who treated Angela. She says, talking about Angela, we once spoke about the traditional Chinese medicine understanding that human life is a condensation of qi, and death is its gentle dispersal back into the greater whole. As the classics say, every birth is a condensation, every death a dispersal. Birth is not a gain, death is not a loss.
Can I next invite up Angela's cousin, Enza Cernelik?
Hello, my name is Enza, and Angela was my first cousin. Angela came into our family not in the usual way, but in a very special way. My zia Celestina and my zio Antonio were unable to have children and were determined to love and raise a child. Their prayers were soon answered, and they were blessed with the gift of a baby girl. I was 10 years old at the time and can still vividly recall that special Sunday when Zia and Zio introduced their beautiful baby girl to us, and her name was Angela. Angela was adopted with the help of the Catholic Church. Along with my brothers and cousins, I was sworn to secrecy. Of course. Of course, Angela would be laughing right now, actually, at this. So, yeah, how apropos. How apropos. Okay. I would spend the next few summers with my aunt and uncle, playing with Angela and helping take care of her. She had all the best toys. She had real Barbies. She had the coveted Easy Bake Oven. Angela was everything to my aunt and uncle. She was adored, she was cherished, and of course, spoiled. We would play together and cool off in the tiny plastic pool in the backyard. Angela was bright, curious, and had expressive eyes. It was like she was soaking in all her surroundings. I have wonderful memories of those days. As I got older, I spent more time with my older cousins, but Angela and I always remained close. As a teenager, my parents sent me to sewing lessons. As soon as I was able to, I made clothes for Angela and for her Barbies. When my daughter Jamie was in a short Barbie phase, Angela gave her her old Barbies along with the old outfits I had made for her. I just couldn't believe that she had kept them all that time. Our families gathered for all the holidays, taking turns hosting the many traditional Italian dishes. The children played while the adults shared stories and jokes of home back in Italy. Angela was the ideal Italian daughter. She spoke fluent, proper Italian, while the rest of us spoke a dialect at home. She also learned how to play the piano and was an excellent student. When I got married, she was my bridesmaid. When our son Mark was born, she was his godmother. We always remained close, even though we were 9 years apart. When my aunt became ill with cancer, Angela was her advocate and was with her throughout the entire journey. Here we go. My aunt was doing very well after her surgery, but due to a complication she could not overcome, she sadly passed away. We were all devastated, and our family gatherings were never felt the same again. Angela and her mom were very, very close, and she missed her dearly. She turned her attention to teaching and taking care of her father. Angela and my uncle continued to share holidays and many Sunday lunches with my parents and us. I remember a particular Sunday when Angela called and asked me to support her while she was going to tell her dad that she had decided she was going to move out. My uncle was really upset. In a traditional Italian family, a girl only moved out if she was getting married. But that didn't stop Angela. She pursued what she wanted to do. She continued with her passion for teaching. She loved children and wanted to be involved in their education and their growth. She partnered with Trish Ewing and opened an Oxford Learning Center in the Beach. We used to call it the Beaches till she corrected me and said, well, you know, Anza, it's actually called the Beach when you live here. So I'm like, okay. So she embraced the area and loved everything about living in the Beach. Soon after, they opened a second Oxford, growing their business, and eventually she opened a third. She eventually bought her first home and would invite our children, Mark and Jamie, to spend the weekends and weeks in the summer with her. She would take them to explore different parts of the city. Center Island was always a special place. She helped with their schoolwork, introduced them to different activities and crafts. She was always so creative and shared all her passions with them. Eventually, Mark became more interested in gadgeteers, and Kathy's daughter, Lauren, joined the overnights. She introduced the girls to sushi, making jewelry, and her favorite movies, The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink. They all have wonderful memories of their time spent with Angela. One day we met for lunch, and she told me that she knew she had been adopted and wanted to know why I had never said anything. I told her we were sworn to secrecy and that it never mattered. She was my cousin. She was my family. She had found her biological mother and was going to meet her. She also learned that she had a sister. She was excited and nervous all at the same time, but so grateful to have this opportunity. Their relationship grew, and Angela found more love and connection with her birth family. Angela eventually married and soon after welcomed her pride and joy, Gabe. Angela threw herself into motherhood as she did all things, 150%. Everything she did was for Gabe. Gabe was her joy. Gabe was her world. Gabe was only a few months old when my uncle passed away, but he was at least able to hold Gabe. Angela introduced Gabe to all her passions: sports, life in the beach, summer camps at Geneva Park, and of course her love of learning and exploring. They bonded over a favorite pastime of collecting sea glass on the beach. Eventually, Angela joined me and my two girlfriends, Christine and Kathy, on various girls' weekends, trips away. And from the very beginning, the four of us were connected and shared openly with each other. No topic was taboo. Our times spent together were truly good for the soul. When each of us turned 50, we each gifted each other a Tiffany heart and chain. Each heart was unique, and we wore them whenever we were together. Just over 3 years ago, Angela faced the hardest challenge of her life. She was diagnosed with multiple myeloma and eventually stomach cancer. She was devastated by the news, but her first concern was not of herself, it was for Gabe. Gabe needed to be okay. Gabe needed to be taken care of. She tackled her cancer like everything else she did in life, with fervor and positivity. She turned every treatment into a positive. She got to know the nurses. She was always appreciative and kind with everyone. She also embraced many alternative treatments. A Tibetan doctor, an acupuncturist, as Angela mentioned, naturopath, trips to Mexico, to name a few, and she thrived. In true Angela fashion, she fought and continued to beat the odds. During this time, she found connection and meaning through programs at Wellspring Cancer Support Foundation. She learned about different types of healing and therapies and met so many amazing people and made new friends. During these 3 years, she lived life to the fullest. She and Gabe took trips, enjoyed 2 summers in Italy where they spent a lot of time with her cousin Lucy. She and Gabe created many memories together, introducing Gabe to our hometown of Bovino, where our parents were from. She also found comfort in a yearning for Padre Pio, the patron saint of healing, suffering, and pain. I remember visiting a shrine to Padre Pio in my teens with Angela, Lucy, and our mothers. Our mothers were devoted to Padre Pio, and his photo was proudly displayed in our homes. Angela found herself being drawn to him, and while in Italy, she, Lucy, and Gabe visited his shrine in San Giovanni Rotondo. In October, when it became evident that Angela needed more care, her friends and family rallied and made sure she and Gabe had meals and did whatever needed doing. Receiving help was difficult for Angela as she was fiercely independent. Soon after, living at home was becoming very challenging, and she made her move to Bridgepoint Hospital. I remember she told me she had decided it was time to go, but that didn't mean she was giving up. She also said there must be a reason, some higher meaning for this journey she was on. She wasn't sure what it was yet, but she was convinced there was a purpose for all she was going through. On November 6th at 3:15, she took her last breath with Karen and Angela by her side. And I'm forever grateful that she wasn't alone and she had you both with her. I'm forever grateful as well to the family and friends who took such amazing care for Angela, made her smile at home and at Bridgepoint. Angela's angels ensured she was never alone. Gabe, I hope you never forget the immense love your mother had for you. And remember that the group of angels that rallied around your mother is here for you today and every day. Forever in our hearts, always remembered for love of life and learning. Rest in peace, my sweet angel, Angela. Thank you.
As Enza mentioned, Padre Pio was an inspiration for Angela through his messages of hope. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Worry is useless. Throughout her life and even through her illness and treatment, Angela always maintained that hope and positive attitude. She was always kind to the nurses, was deeply annoyed with the oncologist for being too pessimistic, and wrote messages for hope on chemo bags with a Sharpie. She put a positive spin on everything and maintained hope to the end, saying, maybe there is a reason for this to be happening, and maybe I'll find out what that is on the other side. I'd now like to invite up Angela's dear friend, Karen Weaver.
those who don't know me, my name is Karen. I've known Angela since we were both in our 20s, and we met in a writing class at U of T. I remember the first assignment was to write about either an orange or an onion, and everyone wrote about the onion. I also remember that after Angela read her piece, I thought, I wish I'd written that. She was an excellent writer. Followed closely by, I think I need to know this person. And we've been peeling back the layers of that onion ever since. We had both just started our teaching careers and we were busy. Angela started teaching at the Linden School, an independent girls' school, something she was extremely proud of, before taking on 2 Oxford Learning Centers in the Beaches. I'm always calling it the Beaches, and then on the Danforth. Time was always limited then, but I feel the universe brings you to the people and the places that you need to know at the time you need to know them in order to heal or to learn or to love more fully. And perhaps that was what was rolling around in my head the day after she died. I was still downtown in my hotel, not too far away from Bridgepoint Hospital. I didn't quite know what to do with myself, so I decided I would go to the AGO and wander about. But before I even left the hotel, the memories started. The wall of the breakfast room was papered with a repeated pattern of trees, and so I immediately thought of Muskoka and all the years Angela and I spent up there at our cottage or hers or at Trish's. It was at the cottage one summer that Angela rather nonchalantly said, "Oh, by the way, can you help me with my swimming strokes? I'm training for a triathlon." "A triathlon?" I exclaimed. "Why in God's name would you want to do one of those?" And she said something to the effect of, "Because I can, or I want to see if I can." And she did, twice with Trish and once on her own. She brought that attitude to so many things in her life, and any suggestion that she couldn't do something only fueled her desire to do the darn thing more. I began to truly understand her approach to life rather late in the game. She traveled a lot in the last couple of years, but one of the places that we went to was Arizona, where we did some alternative therapies. We visited vortex locations hoping to access healing energies. We did a medicine wheel ceremony. We did a sound therapy ritual, which is when she told me all about Rufus and Irene. We visited holy sites like the Chapel of the Holy Cross and places sacred to the First Nation tribes. But we also did an aura reading. Mine came up blue-purple, and hers came up red-orange. Polar opposites. I'll just read you a paragraph about her aura, though, and you can see if you see Angela here. A red-orange aura signifies a combination of strong passion and vitality with creativity, confidence, and a love for new experiences. It indicates an energetic, adventurous, and emotionally expressive individual who is often sociable and risk-taking. I was both utterly impressed with and somewhat mortified by what I saw her as her risk-taking. Let's have 2 businesses instead of 1. Let's buy a beat-up house, 91 Bolton, take out a massive loan and gut that thing. Of course, she made it look gorgeous. Let's sell that house, make a wicked profit, and renovate the 2nd and the 3rd floor apartments at what became the next Oxford in the Beaches. And later, in what seemed like a spur-of-the-moment purchase, let's buy a cottage on Lake Rosso and make it a sanctuary. Of course, these were never considered risks to her. Not she of the red-orange aura. Her spirit of adventure, her let's go attitude, was undeniable to anyone who knew her. I heard stories of when she was younger and traveled with Trish to Europe and beyond, and more recently Nassau and Nashville. She traveled to Vietnam with Jess, and I think Mexico most recently. She came kayaking with me on a major trip to Tobermory, even though she had never kayaked before. She immediately said, "Yes, let's do it," when I asked her if she wanted to do a road trip to Boston and Provincetown before Google Maps and Waze. A trip during which I found out that she was actually okay with the unknown and the unplanned. She started cycling relatively late in life and took it seriously enough to do several biking trips to Majorca. And of course, she developed an entirely new group of friends through the cycling community who she cherished deeply. And boy, how she loved cycling. She insisted we cycled parts of the Niagara Parkway in October 2024, and she even cycled from her cottage to ours this past August on a rare day when she felt like she could set the world on fire. And I will note, she not only went to Italy 2 summers in a row with Gabe, she drove in Italy, presumably having honed her skills on the streets of Toronto with a certain red Vespa. Lucy, we can talk about how she actually did driving in Bovino later. And Gabe, having you made her only want to do more. When you were not quite 1, Gabe, your mom asked me to go on a trip with her to Vancouver to visit your grandparents. We loaded you onto a plane. I'm gonna say you slept peacefully the entire 5 hours. And although I had spent some tender time with your Nono and later Enza here in Ontario and was exposed to Italian culture and small, delicious bites, it was actually in Vancouver where I personally saw your mother Italian out. And yes, it was all about the food. Well, and socializing. But more about the food, like a lot of prosciutto. There was a lot of prosciutto there. Nona Anna expected all hands on deck to prepare for the endless stream of guests. Her friends, her former colleagues at Hudson's Bay, the entire local Italian and Spanish communities, they were all called out to meet you both. Nona Anna put me to work so that your mom, with her signature confidence and energy, could socialize more and be the center of attention with you, which she did with such pride and with such ease and with such grace. Always Angela socializing and laughing easily, with ease and grace, whether at work, with friends and family, or most impressively, with total strangers she had just met. Angela was a pretty mischievous one at times, and I edited out these stories so you can ask me about them later. And she brought that spirit of mischievousness and play to every dinner party, murder mystery, soup fest, pride fest, Geneva Parks Day, boat ride, Italian film night, birthday get-together, Christmas celebration, evening out, etc., etc. So it wasn't surprising to me that she brought all of that and her let's go attitude to the past few years following her diagnosis. In January of 2024, she insisted that we go to New Orleans because she had never been. And there we were on Bourbon Street, hanging out with the freshly sprung college kids, eating powdered beignets and dubious gumbo, doing karaoke in gay bars, and of course, dancing. It was definitely an attempt to recall and relive all those years, pretty much 1998 to 2006, going to the Phoenix at 410 Sherburne, dancing every Friday night. After 20 years, we had moves, full-on dance routines to certain songs, all performed with the most seriousness of intent, but with the goofiest of faces. There are songs that are inextricably tied to Angela. Her mom's favorite song, Every Breath You Take by The Police. Her dad's favorite song, which I'll never understand, Eddie Grant's Electric Avenue. And although I am reluctant to admit this, but she'd be really mad if I didn't, she also loved anything by Wham, George Michael, and Michael Jackson. I'm sure you can all add a few more songs and artists to the list.
Don't Stop Believing.
The The last major event we went to this summer was the Mariposa Folk Music Festival in Orillia in July. Eliza P., an Indigenous artist, sang a rendition of Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time, a song Angela sang in her choir group at Wellspring. Angela couldn't dance, but she stood up and sang along. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me, time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting, time after time. So when I went to the AGO last week, I was a little bit lost. So I looked for Angela, and I found her everywhere. But as to not talk about the entire collection at the AGO, I will just focus on two pieces. The first, perhaps you've seen it, it's the original, not a counterfeit, is Norval Marceau's 6-panel Man Changing into Thunderbird. Angela and I talked a lot about transformation in the past 2 years, how we've changed, how she'd changed, and what might come next. When we were in Phoenix in the botanical gardens, we saw butterflies everywhere, and we talked of transformation again. And she said, when I'm gone and you see a butterfly, think of me. There was always a hope for lightness and freedom and rebirth, and yes, more adventure. It was imagery that we returned to again and again. And so I have a butterfly here, there's a basket, for anyone who wants one, to keep her close, to remember her in hope, and to remember to fly yourself. But the very first piece I saw at the gallery that day was a piece called Interior with 4 Etchings. It's a piece that, as the placard beside it says, serves as a reminder to slow down, to look carefully, and to seek out the beauty in every day. It shows a woman with her back to the viewer, standing in front of a wall with a few small pieces of framed art on it. And in the moment I thought, this is Angela looking back at her life. And in the moment, I was transported back to Angela's apartment. If you've been in Angela's apartment, you know it is filled with art. Brightly colored abstract canvases by local artists, both large and small. The Muskoka Chair triptych, Doyle's Mom's piece, the Queen Street streetcars, the snowy lake hugged by trees, the trees of life from around the world, the pieces of art from Mexico, Italy, Costa Rica, etc. And probably my favorite, the huge canvas with pieces of sea glass on it. Glass that had been collected on the shores of Lake Ontario with you, Gabe. And of course, all of your art, Gabe. Art that she cherished and talked about all of the time. But right behind her couch, on the living room wall, there was a different kind of art. It was framed pictures of the people who meant the most to her, taken at different times in her life. At first glance, you see disparate moments separated by the white frames. But I think now when I think of that wall, I see tiny strings attaching themselves to each picture, connecting each picture in a giant mind map. Or perhaps the better term when speaking about Angela is a heart map. And I am ever so grateful that I was fortunate enough to connect with those precious to her heart near the end and share moments that are perhaps a little too profound to share here. Clearly, as you can see, I am not at a loss for words, but could keep reminiscing and telling stories for days. But I guess if we keep talking, she is not lost to us. Her memory and spirit are near. So thank you for allowing me to share some memories and impressions with you today. May you dance and sing as she did, find time for adventure, and see butterflies everywhere.
Next, we'll hear from Angela's sister, Brianna Petmore.
As her little sister, I feel qualified to speak on how profoundly cool Angela was. She was running shoes under her wedding dress and belly laughs in a quiet room, proudly herself and proud of those who surrounded her. One of the last texts I have from Angela reads, "I love the way you see me from your perspective. Thank you so much. It really warms my heart." So I'd like to talk a little about who she was through my adoring eyes. Angela was 30 when I was born, so I grew up seeing her as this radiant and incredibly cool grown-up with whom I always craved more time. She was bright and beautiful, unwaveringly kind, interested in everything, and always up for playing a game. She was warm arms around me on the ferry to Newfoundland and silly stories in the back seat of Mum's car. As a little girl, I never missed an opportunity to try and trick the adults that there was no birthday cake at the party, because what could be worse than that? Angela was the perfect audience for my mischief. I must have played that joke on her on a half-dozen occasions, and every time it was met with a gasp and a satisfyingly dismayed reply. It didn't matter what I brought to her, she would always humor me. I have never known anyone so warmly welcoming of whatever comes their way. On her last birthday, I was so struck watching her as we sang happy birthday and showered her with love and wishes. She sat there basking in it, soaking it all up. She didn't make herself small or turn away from attention, but rather took it in with warmth. She had the most incredible openness to life, a lesson I will carry with me always. One of the joys of my childhood was spending time with my big sister, and later with my sweet niece, Gabe. Angela had a way of making me feel so special and important, like everything I had to say was the most interesting thing she'd ever heard. The way she connected with me meaningfully at every age is something I will forever cherish, and I feel so blessed to be her sister.
As Angela started needing more care toward the end of her life, there were so many people who came together through a WhatsApp group to offer support. Longtime friends as well as newer friends, different groups of people from different points in her life, each relationship unique and so deeply valued. But of course, the most important person in Angela's life has always been Gabe. As we have heard of all her many accomplishments, the greatest joy and the most important thing Angela ever did was to be a mother to her beloved Gabe. She delved into parenthood like one giant kitchen dance party. Everything she did was for her child, doing everything she could to make sure that Gabe was happy and thriving. And I know that all of those friends will continue to envelop Gabe in that love. Gabe, would you like to come and speak?
Hi. So, I've been trying to write something for this for a while, but it's been really difficult, and I don't know why. But, I don't know. I mean, I've known my mom ever since I was born, so it's been a while. And I don't think I've ever had another person who I have cherished as much as her. And I've never felt lonely or sad because she was always there. And these past couple weeks, I've been thinking a lot about stuff we've done, like our trip to Costa Rica. And I remember there was this one moment where we were in this Airbnb, and there was this big patio, and we were just dancing. to music. And it really makes me think about how much I miss her. And how awesome she was. And she's just so amazing. And I wish she was still here so I could tell her. Because the last day I saw her, or the day before, I wasn't able to go. And I really wish I went to go see her. But on the day, I went in her room and she wasn't really there, but the last words I ever spoke to her were, "I love you." And that was the last thing she texted me. So, I don't know, I love her a lot. And she was the best person I've ever known, I guess. And she introduced me to everybody, my family, and I've never felt like I had to be someone else with her. Thank you guys for coming. It was really nice. But I don't know, she's just like the light of my life. And there have been times where I haven't been able to do things and where I've struggled with stuff, and she was always there. And one day when I was at school, I was having, I don't know, a really bad day. And so I came home early to her and she was still at home. And I was crying. And all she could think about was me, despite the situation she was in. And I miss talking to her. And I miss hugging her. She's just been like my best friend for my entire life. And I don't know, we're really close. And I know she's fine now, and I don't know if she's in a better place. But I don't know how to say this. I'm really happy that she's resting now, because I got to see her every day for the past year. And despite everything that she was going through, she was always smiling. She was always happy. She always cared about everyone. And it's really hard to say goodbye. But I guess it's good to say goodbye. And I'm never going to forget all the memories I have with her, but it's just hard to think about not being able to make new ones. But I really love her, and I know everybody does, because she was amazing. That's it, I guess.
When great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. We humans are so miraculous and so fragile. We are given these bodies for a finite period. We take care of them as best we can for as long as we can, taking moments like this as an important reminder to live our lives to the fullest, just as Angela did. I don't have the answers to how the heart is supposed to make sense of something that makes no sense. I don't know how we carry the weight of grief without breaking, but I know that we do. and I know that the way through is eased when we are surrounded by love. May Angela's family and all who grieve her loss be comforted by the love that surrounds them today and in the days to come. Telling stories, remembering, this is how we keep the spirit of our loved ones alive in our hearts. There are so many stories about Angela that are still to be told. You are all invited to a reception following the service because nourishing our bodies must continue as we continue to live. And during the reception, there will be a mic set up to continue to share your memories and keep them alive. Keep remembering and keep celebrating Angela. Jessica?
Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you, caught up in circles. Confusion is nothing new. Flashback, warm nights, almost left behind. Suitcase of memories. Time after, sometimes you picture me. I'm walking too far ahead. You're calling to me. I can't hear what you've said. You say go slow. I fall behind. The second hand unwinds. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. After my picture fades and darkness is turned to gray, watching through windows, you're wondering if I am okay. Secrets stolen from deep inside. The drum beats out of time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will You say go slow, I fall behind. The second hand unwinds. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall,